there was a man. He was born in the palace of the Egyptian pharaoh. And he also grew up in the palace. For him, if he wanted money, he had money. If he wanted status, he had status. If he wanted beautiful women, he had beautiful women. He was the son of the Egyptian pharaoh's daughter. The adopted son of the pharaoh's daughter. So naturally, he was royal family. He was extremely precious. But after this man grew up, he didn't want to be called the pharaoh's daughter's son. Who was this man? Who was he? He was Moses. He didn't want to be the pharaoh's daughter's son. So why didn't this man want that? He had faith in God. He had faith in God. He didn't want to be the pharaoh's daughter's son anymore. He longed to be used by God in the future. To be the pharaoh's daughter's son. To be part of Pharaoh's family. Of course, it was valuable, but he had strong faith in God. Because of his faith, would God really use this man who had faith in him? He really did use him. Moses. So let's read about Moses' faith. In the end, he really didn't want to be the Pharaoh's daughter's son. He was willing to give up this honored identity. But unexpectedly, later he became even more precious. He became God's appointed honored servant. Now, let's read about Moses' faith. Because of faith, Moses refused to be the Pharaoh's daughter's son when he grew up. He would rather suffer mistreatment with God's people than enjoy temporary worldly pleasures. In his eyes, even though he would be dishonored for witnessing about Christ and the gospel in the future, this was far more valuable than Egypt's treasures, because he focused on future rewards. He left Egypt by faith, not afraid of the king's anger. He was persistent, as if he saw God, invisible to others. He established the Passover by faith, putting blood on the doorposts and lintels, to avoid the plague that kills the firstborn. That kills the firstborn of Israel. So Moses, by faith, when he grew up, refused to be the Pharaoh's son. For the people of that era, being raised in the palace was considered extremely precious. But he didn't want that. He was willing to give up this seemingly honorable status. But why was he willing to give it up? Because of his faith in God. He had faith in God. He had faith in God. How wonderful it was, when he was 40 years old. Because of his faith, he thought his brothers would recognize God's leading, bringing them out of Egypt. At that time, many Israelites understood God's covenant with Abraham, which had lasted 400 years, and that they would leave Egypt. This covenant was well known among the Israelites. Moses angrily said, "Oh, it seems in my lifetime I have the chance to lead people out of Egypt." At that time, he had such a mindset. At 40 years old, he thought God would use him. So he reached out and heard a man. In the end, he was rejected. He fled to Midian and stayed there. This man who longed to be used by God. Longed to be used by God. To lead people out of Egypt, Moses became a murderer. After fleeing to Midian to live, would his hope be shattered? Would his hopes be ruined? His faith in God. Would God hold against Moses the fact that he once killed someone? That he once killed an Egyptian? So, would God just let it go, not allowing Moses to lead the people to Egypt? Could that be? Would it cause Moses' faith to be in vain? No. Clearly, Moses understood. He stood up for justice for both his brethren and his own people. So he killed an Egyptian. He acted on impulse. But would God then say, "Moses, you're so impulsive that your faith is invalid? That even if you have faith, I won't grant it to you. Even if you believe in me, I wouldn't let you be the one to lead the people out of Egypt." But God did not do that. Even though Moses made mistakes, God valued his faith. Then as for Moses, at age 80, God chose him, using him to lead the people out of Egypt. The brothers of Shibwa also recalled their creed, and took on the name Shibwa. This name, adopted in 2018, actually means Israel. Thus, the Israelites are the Hebrews, and the Hebrews are the Israelites. Hebrews, just a scant remnant. That's the meaning. Originally, he was to be named Israel. But he felt that name was too clever. So he refrained from naming himself Israel, lest people might mistake him for the Jacob of the covenant. Instead, he simply used Shibwa to represent the new covenant Israel. Unexpectedly, he indeed became the Israel of the new covenant. Brothers and sisters, I truly did not expect it. I had longed to one day lead the people out of Egypt. And yet, unexpectedly, I became the Moses of the new covenant. Who would have thought that he would eventually become the patriarch? In the end, he will surely one day sit on God's throne. Therefore, one must have the requisite faith. May all glory be given to the Heavenly Father and the Lord. Amen.